your bar mitzvah. You told me, or you showed me on Google Street View, the synagogue, or how you describe it.
Synagogue.
Yeah. What do you remember anything about your bar mitzvah or going to Sunday school or anything?
Yeah.
And
It was a Sunday school.
what was it? Hebrew school.
It was the Hebrew school. Sunday school's Christian.
Right. Did you have a bad experience? Because you told me that once you were done, you didn't ever want to go back.
Right.
What happened there? Like your mom made a big deal out of it.
Well, it was expected for my brother and I to be bar mitzvah. So my brother was bar mitzvah. He went to bar mitzvah school. You'd have to ask him.
I didn't ask him. I'll ask him.
And then 3 years later, or 2 years later, I don't remember. It was my turn, and I didn't want to go.
Because you wanted to play baseball?
Yeah, whatever. My friends were right outside playing stickball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I convinced my mother. My mother had no money.
Uh-huh.
She couldn't pay the rabbi. Or she paid him very little. And I went for 2 years. After school.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an hour. Or an hour and a half. And what I learned was basically my contribution to the services for the day that I become bar mitzvah.
Right.
So it was a bunch of paragraphs in Hebrew
Uh-huh.
that I had to learn in order to say it when I was up at the podium.
Right.
The kids were all in the same position. They all were screwing around. We were trying to play tricks on the rabbi, keep him occupied. And he was a short little man.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was nice. He would yell every once in a while to try to get order in the classroom. And there was probably about half a dozen or 10 kids, all boys, no girls. I don't remember girls being bar mitzvah
Right.
at the time. So I learned, and I came up at the podium on my day, and did my brother describe the synagogue?
No, you showed me on Google the synagogue, and what I see is a tiny red brick building. I remember seeing the Hebrew still in the building, and I remember you showing me the building, and the building was abandoned. And it looked like it had been abandoned for decades. And it was only, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember it was only like a block or two away from your apartment. It was close.
It was a block, less than a block.
Right, it was right.
It was across the street.
Right, you could go right there.
So
You showed it to me.
So we lived on East 2nd Street,
Uh-huh.
which was at the corner of Cortelyou Road.
Right.
Cortelyou Road was a major thoroughfare,
Uh-huh.
and then the synagogue was like 100 feet down.
Mm-hmm.
Synagogue was maybe 20 feet wide.
Yeah, it looked tiny.
Yeah, and it was maybe 100 feet.
Smaller than the living room here.
I think from the front door, probably to the front door.
Okay.
I mean, the patio to the front door was the length.
Right.
And women sat in the back, men sat in the front, and then there was what they call a podium or a center where the rabbi stood, and they had a Talmud and whatever. And then on the side was a table where we sat.
Was there a big party after your bar mitzvah?
No,
Nothing. It was just the ceremony and we're done.
there must have been a little party at the synagogue.
And why didn't you really want to go back to synagogue after that? I got the impression growing up that it just was not important to you.
Within 6 months, forgot how to read or speak Hebrew, and I was not comfortable being in that environment. the rabbi lived up the street, so he'd have to cross Cortelia Road and then walk past our apartment house. And I don't know where the hell he lived, but he lived that way. Well, when I used to see him coming after I was bar mitzvah, I used to hide.
Because
at my bar mitzvah, he said to me, Elliot, he said, I know you made me a promise, which I did not make.
he made it up.
That's right. He said that you're going to wear the tefillin every day, twice a day.
That does not sound like a promise you would ever make.
And I was so embarrassed. I said yes.
Like he forced you into that situation. You couldn't tell this rabbi you lied.
Right.
He put you in a rock and a hard place.
Right. So I was very resentful.
I believe it.
So I always thought when he walked past my house at the end of the day, if I was outside, I hid because I didn't want a confrontation with him.
Right.
So I don't know what my brother's relationship was.